Hello and welcome to Great Train Layouts Live. I am your host, Nico Izrak, coming to you live, unless you're watching this on repeat, from the Streamliner Media Studios. Sure, we'll go with that. And welcome to another layout build where we take a track plan and digitize it, pixelize it, maximize it for the sake of art and model railroading. We're going to be today exploring new territory here on Great Train Layouts Live. We're going to be exploring O scale. I emphasize that because O scale's tough. O scale's tough because when it comes to prototypical operations, big scale, and not something that you would necessarily think of fitting in a single bedroom while having operations. That is what we're going to be doing with this plan right here, created by Dan Bourque of Appalachian Railroad Modeling, and you can check out his work on his website. I've linked to it in the description. You can read about the history of this branch and his ideas behind the design. Does great work. If you love track plans, you should check out his site. Thank you for joining us here. Thank you to tonight's sponsor, K&L Trains. They've got a beauty new steam locomotive we're going to be playing with once we build this layout. So without further ado, let's get to it. And first, greet some of you who have joined us already. Hello, White Star, Dakota, Millennial Modeler, and RWS Baden. Question, can you select the scale in trains when recreating these track plans? Good question. So, yes, and you could change it just as easily, and I will show you how you do that. So this is Leyland, West Virginia, as set in the late steam, early diesel era. It's a C&O. It's at the end of the Chesapeake and Ohio's, or was at the end of the Chesapeake and Ohio's Laurel Creek branch. Actually, only a couple of hours from where I live. And it is all about the coal. This is all about the coal. And as designed by Dan Bourque, it fits into a 14 by 14 foot space in O scale. But let's say you want to turn it into HO or even N, because obviously as an L layout, it would be super easy to downsize. And much easier to downsize a layout than downscale it than upscale it. But how do you do that? So in Train Z, you go to Edit Route. You have the working scale, and you can choose from most of the common scales that exist. So we've imported it, and what scale means in Train Z is kind of irrelevant. Train Z treats a route the same regardless. It's really about the measurements. So if we select O scale, and we're going to go with imperial, and then we add a ruler from one end of this to another and zoom in on that, you can see that comes to 13.9 feet. But if we want to see, well, what does that look like in O scale, we could just go back to Edit Route and we change the working scale to HO, and we can see that is now 7.7 feet. So that's what scale, as far as trains with a Z means, scale is just affecting your measurement tools. It comes into play a little bit when I'm importing these track plans using base maps, but that's about the significance of it when it comes to the sim. And 2026 Productions, Operations O scale is diabolical. It is. But that's what we're going to explore tonight. How to make it happen. And so to do that, we're going to start by laying all the track. And we're going to start by laying all the track flat in 2 dimensions. And then we'll explore. And I want that. Make it gray with 150-pound rail. So our staging is just a single track. This plan, as you'll see, does not really need a full-blown yard, because it is basically replicating a mine run circuit, where we have a train coming into along the Laurel Creek branch. It appears into the world here. We've got this bridge. What's recommended to be a bridge is going to be what kind of transitions us from the hidden staging to the scenic portion of the layout. And that is the staging. We don't really need a multitude of trains here. If we wanted to, obviously, we could expand it in this direction. We could expand the count of tracks, but we don't really need to for all intents. Next up, start to get this portion of the... And I love the fact that we have this use to explore O scale, because it is something I actually, for a period of time growing up, was an O scale modeler, in the sense that Dad was an O scale modeler, and by proxy, I was too. And admittedly, the layouts that we built in O scale were mostly about look at the trains go round. That's not a bad thing. I mean, I had a lot of fun. I think there is one video of that layout on YouTube. If you go way back to the early, if you search my YouTube channel and you go to my early video, then you could see a video that exists. That layout. It was fun, but it was mainly loopity-doo-dah, loopity-yay. And nothing wrong with that. I don't ever mean to diminish plans or approaches that aren't what I would do. But it's just recognizing that nowadays I am so much an ops guy. I love switching and switching puzzles. And that is hard with O scale. Don't have a lot of room. I'm going to be exploring this plan, which fits into a very reasonable space as far as O scale is concerned. Being able to fit O scale into a bedroom, doable. There we are. There. Getting these switches to look nice. I'm going to be a little bit pickier, because admittedly, the building standpoint tonight, this is going to be a pretty straightforward build. So I'm definitely wanting to show you the stages of building the fascia and that kind of side of things. We want have a layout for us to play. Oh, I see why it's doing those switches. So I'm going to move this switch a little bit down, and then almost do. As always, I hope that you guys are having a wonderful, if you're watching this a lot, that you are fooey. Okay, looks like I reconnected. Got notifications about getting this. Hopefully we're not going to have unwanted, whether or not my internet's going to be reliable. Where was I? Oh, yes. So for some of you, you were watching along diligently, and some of you, I am background company to whatever project you're doing. And I am a-okay with being either of those things. Whatever, I'm just glad to have you here. Whatever capacity you bring me in. So obviously, we're going to be replicating this as 2-rail O scale. If we wanted to be cute, Train Z does have 3-rail line L track, and maybe we'll put that on for a little bit just to see what it's like. But the final product, we're pretending that this is. Any reason you couldn't make it 3-rail? Nope. Very much do this. So, I'm going to put my straight tracks in. The mine building is going to have tracks associated. Probably should get that in place. But I need at least, I'm going to need at least one track, which is going to be a guide for how high up we're going to put the, how high up we're going to. So, we set the thing, need to check how low. It goes to 48 inches. Okay. 48 inches. I can... So, we're going to have a little bit of math going on. But don't worry. You don't need to worry about the math. I will be. So you see these numbers here, 55, 54, 53. Those are going to be our track elevations at each point. Because of the way I imported the plan, I've cut off the track elevation starting at 48. What is 48? 48 inches off of the floor. So we're not going to actually raise everything by 48 inches. We're just going to use 48 as our base and add individual inches on top of that. Hello, WTube fan 5. Glad to see you here. Spaced out with Ginger. Yes, snow reports. We had snow here in Central Virginia last Tuesday, 2 days ago. Got hit with about 6 inches. It's quite substantial for this area. I'm originally from northwestern Pennsylvania. That's a different ball game, especially when it's lake effect. Central Virginia. So let's see what grade this makes. I'm led to believe this is going to be about a 3.5%. That's true. So now I'm setting the height of each of these spline points and ones. And how do I know these amounts? These are just metric. So this is 6.6 meters in real scale. So if you do the math, that's 2.2 inches. Where is it? Do I have to convert it for O scale? Might. No, because inches are the same whether it's O or... Now I have to remind myself if inches scale the same or not. Because we're doing O. Okay. Little bit of math time. So we're looking for what an inch is in O scale from metric. So the metric equivalent, and then we have to... So if I know an inch, double that. This is what you get for going into a new scale, or what I get for going into new scales. I have to make sure I'm using my conversion rate as far as the elevations are. So if it's supposed to be, so in meters. So if I'm saying it is raised by 1 inch, then it is raised by 0.0254 meters, and then I need to multiply that by 40. 4 times 1.21 meters. I'm not sure that I'm right on that. But I'm going to leave it where it is because I'm led to believe this is a steep grade, and in this case, the grades only matter in the sense that we do need to overlap the tracks here, but as long as those tracks overlap, we're going to be fine. And I can always adjust that. This is part of the advantage that I always love telling you guys about when it comes to designing these train layouts in a simulator is that you get to see what the grades actually look like. And so these grades aren't just hypothetical numbers, they're actual track that you could see actually going up. So if I say that's going up at 3, I'm led to believe this is 2. Should be... And what actual height am I? 7.58. Close enough. Okay. All of this is at the same elevation. And I'm going to raise this bit up. And I'm going to raise it up by 4%. It's going to be a little bit extreme here. There's a reason for that. And that reason is going to be the gravity. The secret trick that this layout has that I may have alluded to onto the part of the spline the last time that live streaming. Now, okay. is that this track plan involves gravity switch. Nick, how do you possibly gravity switch a track plan like this? Actually, yeah, need to get that switch. How do you gravity switch in Train Z? I'm going to show you later in the stream. But we are going to have gravity switch. And we're going to talk about how the gravity switching could be replicated in real life. That it's not just a train simulation. Oh, I need to get grade here. That's what's throwing me off. Ron Paladin, you're looking to get snow in northern Arizona. I mean, it sounds crazy on the surface, but having been to Arizona, I remember going to the Grand Canyon some years ago, and there was snow at the South Rim. So that isn't as crazy as I would otherwise think. But maybe it's crazy for where you live. Which now, of course, these switches, I don't actually know if these switches exist in O-Scale. So if I was to build this track plan to life, and I wasn't into making my own custom turnouts, I would probably rebuild this track plan in any rail, just so that I could confirm that I can buy this switch off the shelf and it will actually fit into the plan. But for train simulation and for what we're doing tonight, okay, that will get us, and then we'll get there. So have another or switch versus turnout. Confusing. Too many terms that mean this. Which turn? I guess turnout is technically the term in the industry. Oh, or is it? I look forward to your comments. Okay, we have this worked out. So what I'm going to do now is set everything at the same elevation of, I think, 7.58. I'm just setting all these spline points to 7.58. So we can see what this is looking like. Shape of like so. And then we are going to actually put this track in, because I do want to make sure that this track, which overlaps our staging track, does actually climb enough. Doesn't, I'm going to need an adjustment. So I'm going to do that by putting, led to believe a 1.5% grade will be enough. Here, we're going to try a 1.5%. Go steeper. And that looks like that's going to clear. And the easy way to tell is we can put down a hopper car, and we can see that we have enough clearance based on the grades that we've selected. So I could go a little lighter on the grades if I wanted to, but I'm happy with that. Hi, so Millennial Mick. My mic sensitivity needs to be. I will do that. Thank you for letting me know. I feel like scared when it comes in here. So I will do that. And while I am doing that, I will speak loudly and clearly. And there we are. That should be better. Tell me if that's better. And RWS Baden, it's kind of odd. Our rulebook, you'll actually find the words switch and turnouts used in the rulebook. Exactly. It's like, and then it's complicated when you talk about switches versus switching. I'd love to know the origin of these terms because it's one of these things where we take it for granted that they exist and that they're kind of interchangeable, except when they aren't. I'm not even sure when they are and aren't. I just know that they're things, so. Okay, so if we keep up that 1.5% grade, I am led to believe that this will be 54 inches off the ground, which would be, I think, because I didn't do that math, but that should be 54 inches. That'd be 6 additional inches, so that'd be 0.2 times 6, which should be about 13.2. Nope, I got my math wrong. 2 times 6. No, I was right. 13.2. Okay, we're not at quite that steep. But I also don't know if we need to be. I'll leave it like that. And I might, maybe I'll make it 2%. I want to make it steep enough because of the gravity switching we're going to be employing here. I want it to be steep enough that it's going to really have a nice... The cars are going to roll a little bit more freely than they might otherwise. All right, let's look at buildings. I did some shopping in advance of this stream for my mine building, which is going to be this right here. It's a nice simple 4-track mine where the tracks are pretty much spaced right where I want them anyway. I'm going to need to raise the... now that I know what the elevation is by the time the track gets to here, I can raise the elevation so that the mine is at the correct elevation, and then we'll finish off the tail tracks. Oh, and Ron, my voice levels are better. Good. Thank you for letting me know, guys. I never tried it, but I suspect that hand laying track is easier to know scale than smaller scale. Probably. I think hand laying track does feel like one of those things that I could see trying for maybe a diorama or a micro layout to say that I've done it. I don't know that I admire folks who can go the distance and build their whole basement empire that way. I get that there's cost savings, but I just don't think that could ever be me. Okay, what do I want to do now? Yeah, I probably want to get that set up, but we'll just take a moment and appreciate we got our most of our track in place, and we have the grades in place. So we can see our staging line coming into the scene where we've got our switchback and then the yard tracks going up to the tipple. So let us raise the scenery up to a height of 10.5 meters real scale. We're going to say 10.5. I like nice easy numbers. And we're going to temporarily bury the staging. But don't worry, it'll come back. It will make a triumphant return. All in good time. So, that is our mine. And we'll link up the tracks to it. Like so. And where is my second piece? Oh, I think it ends all the way over there. So I'll just place a piece that connects here to here. And connect that. And then I'm going to make sure these are all roughly the same elevation so that they work as they should when it comes time for it. And I might need to space this a little bit further out. And in this case, we've got a switch coming off of here, which is going to lead to track number 4. Beauty. Oh, I'm already liking how this looks. I already look at this and go, this is neat. Now, in our case, because of the way this object is set up, the track's actually going to be flat with a 0 grade right at the mine. But, of course, when you're building it, you could continue your grade through. I'm probably going to give a nice steep 4% grade coming out of the mine just because that's going to help the cars along. I might even have to mess with the grades a bit once we play test it. But maybe let's, before we get into the scenery, just so that we don't have to discover the hard way that I done goofied. Because that's usually how I realize I done goofied. We're just going to put the tracks here like so, and we're just going to test some loaded cars and see what happens. Obviously, this is recognizing that we're experimenting for the sake of trains with a Z. It's safe to say that as long as the grade is pronounced enough, you're gonna have what you need to be able to pull off gravity switching. And while I'm getting that set up, we can talk about that gravity switching and how it is envisioned as per the author of this track plan, Dan Bourque. Well, if we hide our track for a minute by hiding the root layer, you see these circles here, 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 here. All these circles are meant to represent some kind of stopping device that sticks out from the track like so and prevents the cars from rolling away. So that way, because obviously you can't tie on handbrakes onto a model car. Who knows if you're building scratch-build O-scale hoppers with working handbrakes, but let's assume you're not. And in which case you need a way to keep these cars held back. And so anywhere you see circles is where you have these devices to prevent the cars from just rolling away on you. So those are physical things that you can raise and lower so that you can roll the cars through, and then once the cars are in place, you put them up, and those are essentially your handbrakes. So you have the ability to set them both on this grade and this grade here. And I think that's a pretty clever idea. I'm sure folks have done this on their basement empires before. But this is the trick that made me particularly... Tucker, don't walk on the cat cameo time. Here's our cat. He's Tucker. He's a good boy. Say hi, Tucker. He's a good kitty. Okay, so that's how you would gravity switch IRL, real life. How we're going to gravity switch in the game, we're going to set ourselves up with, let's say, like 5 cars per track. We've got 5 cars here. Well, I don't need more than... We're just going to try it on one track for now. Because we'll do more playtesting with this later. I'm going to load them up with coal. And when we go into play mode, and we look at the properties of these cars that I have modified, you will see handbrake is applied with the ability to release. So what we're going to do is right-click on each one of these cars, and we're just going to release the handbrakes. Now, not going to roll away with 1, even with 2, maybe with 3, nope, maybe with 4, still no, but maybe with all of the handbrakes released, we hope. Yes, slowly but surely our cars are starting to take off. Now this is going to be my first real test. I gotta make sure that I keep these cars rolling enough that they clear the switch here, but not so much that they roll off the end of the track there. And I will eventually put a bumper stop there, but we're going to really challenge ourselves in this mode. Obviously, if you were working in O-scale, your cars are not going to take this long to build up momentum. But this is Train Z. Very different physics. This is more akin to what you'd experience in real life. We've got our cars moving along at a good clip. So that tells me I've, for the sake of playing in Train Z, I've got enough of a grade, and they can move at a good clip. I realize I don't have a switch stand there, but that's okay, because the switch is set the right way. And I'm gonna... One trick with handling cars gravity switching in this game is we don't have the ability to adjust the handbrake. It is either all on or all off. So I'm gonna apply it now. And did I apply it too soon? Maybe. I'm gonna release it. Oh, nope. Perfect. And I'm gonna leave it released because then, thanks to the incline here, they're going to roll down onto this track, where once we get to the play session, thanks to K&L Trains, we're going to have a nice mallet waiting to pick them up. Let's see. Double tube fan is, if this is O scale, what size curves are these? Well, if we look at the track plan, which again, link in the description of this video, it uses a minimum radius of 48-inch curves. So for O scale, 48 is mid-range, depending on how prototype you are. Back when I modeled, Dad and I had a layout, we had a lot of O56 curves and O72. So somewhat tight. You're definitely, but you're also only going to be running coal cars and some kind of either locomotive with a short wheelbase or an articulated engine, or diesels like GP7s. So for that, 48 inches should be okay. Handling 2 rail scale. Op Studio seems to be having issues. I don't know if it's Op Studio or the... I apologize if I'm like cutting out at random moments. Op Studio seems to be having issues. I'm not even clear if it's my internet. But as I was saying, yes, maybe you could make this work with sectional low scale track. That's what a program like AnyRail is for. RWS Baden, believe it or not, Bernard Kempinski actually equipped his rolling stock with working handbrakes on his O scale Aquiline. I so want to visit his layout. We've talked, we've had good conversation. I'm actually working on a different layout that he built. Behind the scenes, off stream, I'm working on a layout of his, which hopefully someday I'll finish up and I can show you guys. Bernie is an amazing modeler, and his Aquiline is peak O-scale modeling. I mean, peak model railroading, period. I really want to see his layout in person someday. But yes, his dedication to modeling the Aquiline is amazing. And before anybody asks, would I ever consider building in Train Z? Of course, I've considered building in Train Z. And the limiting factor is just there's not a lot of Civil War era rolling stock, let alone things prototypical to what he's doing. And that layout, you really need the right rolling stock, and that just doesn't really exist right now. Someday I would love for there to be a Train Z Aquiline. And someday I'd love to see it in person. Okay, so we've got gravity switching out. Our track is done. It is complete. And our grades are in, and everything seems to be working. With that, we're going to get to scenery. And this is another one where, on the one hand, it's a hard build because it's O scale. But on the other hand, scenically, there's not a ton of things going on. And we're going to try to make the most of that by maybe getting a little bit more into the details than we ordinarily would on a live stream, because I think getting the base scenery is going to be fairly quick. So we're going to switch to the fascia layer because I want to determine what the bounds of the fascia are going to be. Before I place the scenery down. And first I'm going to start by following his template for where the fascia should go, and then we're going to adjust that. And I think we're going to do the thin curtain shelf. feel like doing the thin curtain shot. Okay. See how much I make use of its abilities, but we're going to start with that. But this gives us a guideline of where our scenery ends and our floor begins. Nice little handy dandy guide when constructing. Obviously, if we had if we didn't have to fit a human in here, we could just make the whole thing the wilds of West Virginia. And maybe once you download this and play with it on your own, that's what you want to do. And I say have fun. Speaking of downloading and enjoying previous creations that we've made on the show, I'm happy to say, after months of not having released anything new, for which I apologize, that if you go to greattrainlayouts.com, I just uploaded the Eagle River Morton branch, which was we constructed nearly a year ago. That is now available for you to download and have fun with. And for those of you who support me on Patreon, which you can do by going to patreon.com/theroundhouse, you can download the Reading and Northern layout that we made over 2 streams last year. That is now available to enjoy. And for those of you who do support me on Patreon, I appreciate that very much. This is fun. I enjoy doing this. But there's web hosting costs with the website and with the podcast. And if you support me on Patreon, you also get early access to podcast episodes. So that's a nice double bonus. I'm going to make this a little further out, just give a little bit more ability to embroider there, like so. A little bit more space between the fascia and the back. That seems reasonable. So now I'm going to adjust the terrain to fit the track. And we're just going to do that. Well, how I want to do it. I want to get all of this. This is going to be kind of our base level. This 7.5 count. And then we'll just for here. Probably gonna. I'm realizing that I've never really adjusted these tracks for to be at the same height as the curve. So that was a good time to fix that, so that grade is throughout, and all these tracks are roughly on the same elevate. So I'm gonna that here, so that's good. I'll lower that a little bit. Just that work. There we go. Looks good to me. And I should probably raise that track up, because otherwise it's going to look a little bit weird if it's lower than the others. And then I'll need to raise it like so. It's always fun being with you guys and doing these live streams. And some of you might be wondering why I'm doing one so soon. Usually we do these usually the 3rd Thursday of the month, but I'm going to be on vacation. Ergo, not really able to live stream for the next couple of months. But then I'll be back. But I didn't want to wait all the way till I came back. I didn't want to miss the chance to be with you guys. Oh, thank you, Pacific Productions. Did you hear Train Z is on console, only Xbox, though? I didn't. I can't say I don't pay a ton of attention to the, especially games on console, because I don't have console, but I'm more interested in features that are brought to the PC version. So no, I was not familiar with that, but thank you for supporting me. Jordan Willows. I missed a crossover before the mine. That's entirely possible. Let me see. Oh, I don't want to be building things on the wrong layer. Okay, if I hide the root layer, I will see that Jordan is right. There's a crossover that needs to go right there. We'll add that. And I'm going to toggle that. So I like the idea of it kind of matching the switches here. I'm just going to, well, do I like it matching the switches or do I look at, that might look a little too neat. There is very much oh, wrong layer. This is a mine, so it should look a little bit more, quite chaotic, but a little bit more involved. Oh, I'm told my volume is too low. Okay, well, if my wife says that the volume is too low, then I'm definitely going to pay attention to that. I thought I changed that already, but I'm going to adjust it a little bit more. Tell me if you can hear, if you guys can hear me more clearly now. Yeah, like that's a sharp switch, but it works. We're going to go with that. And I'm going to move that switch lever to here. Later, we're going to actually swap those out, but for now, that will do. I want to, in the meantime, get the terrain level over here, like so. Oop, and then I want to unbury this track right here. And like so. And then I'll probably do separate layers for that. Okay. I'm going to use 7.58 as my base here. And I'm going to raise all that up, and then that will be... I'll just... Oop, nope, I don't want to do it like that. We'll turn up the sensitivity. I'm just going to raise the fascia layer up as well, just because that's going to help me visualize a little bit more. And then we'll figure out how I'm actually going to go about placing mountains and so forth. Because our goal with this, as is the case with many a mine branch, is we want to feel like we are deep. We are deep in the heart of coal country. We are deep within the mountains. And we have to do that in what's relatively a small space. Because again, if this was HO, this is 7.7, like this is 7.5 feet, 7.75 by 7.75. This room, so if you were trying to fit it into a room, this is smaller than a, kind of smaller than a 4x8. Or it's more like a 4x8 if you unfolded it. That's one way of thinking of it. But we want to make it feel like we are deep in the mountains. We're going to have a cool backdrop. We're going to really go to town on that element of it. And then we've got our... And then we'll have to figure out scenically how we want to handle that transition. But this is right about the point. Oh, right here's the point. So I'm going to actually hide that for now. That'll make my life easier if I don't have to worry about that. So... what we are going to do... what do I want to do now? These and other questions. Yeah, I'm going to manually tweak that terrain to be at the same height as our track. And then we get to this scenery. Everybody's favorite part. The part where we take our digital paintbrushes and we say, this is the world that we are creating. That's the fun... the reason why I love these streams so much is every layout, real and digital, is an opportunity to create a world. And I just love that process of that you take this two-dimensional, in this case, literally a sketch, but a very well done, detailed sketch by Dan Bourque, and we make it a playable idea. And that to me is the fun of this. We're unlocking worlds. These are worlds that exist in our minds that we are unlocking and bringing to everybody. That's the fun. Okay, my wife reports that the audio levels are fine now. Thank you, Bethany. And the other thing that is fine now is our scenery. Our grades are what they should be. And that makes me happy. So, we are going to start with scenicking the visible areas, and then I'm going to worry about how to transition into the staging in a way that looks believable in Train Z. And then we're going to have some fun. Hopefully we're already having fun. So what are some of the projects that you guys are working on? Love to read more about what you're currently working on a big scale with your layout, on a small scale, what project you're tackling this week. There's so much. Every step is a step forward. There we go. Now we've got that switch fixed. Alrighty, so part of what makes this build both easy and hard at the same time is that we don't actually have a lot of extra space for buildings. On the one hand, that's great. Made my shopping very easy, but I don't want it to be dull. I want there to be story to this, because it'd be so easy to just be like, this is the middle of nowhere, it's a bunch of trees, it's a bunch of forest, ta-da. And that would be fine. And you could do that. But I want... Part of what I'm envisioning with this, especially because we do like our mine layouts here, and I want every mining layout to feel just a little bit different, have that little bit of character. And so... Because it doesn't say what these buildings are meant to be. It just says we've got something here and something over here. So, could do company houses. We did that last time on the Pond Creek. So instead I want to do a church. And I picked out a couple of church buildings to see what would fit and look the part. But see, putting a church right next to the tracks like this feels like too much. Church needs to be over here somewhere. So that suggests that a good amount of people could get to it. It suggests community without needing to show all the houses. Maybe we do need a house. What I'm seeing, so now I'm trying to picture, like, what are we doing here? How do we want to vary this just a little bit, so it's not just all look at the trees and look at the mountains. This feels very much like just trees and mountains. This is right next to the mine. You'd have support structures and so forth, but not going to do much there. Thank you for the super chat, Pacific Productions. You're starting to sound like a Trains Bob Ross. That is my goal. That is not unintentional, I will admit. I listen to a lot of Bob, and I say listen because what I'll do sometimes when I'm working on projects is I'll have him painting on one screen, but I'll be focused on Train Z in another. I love that energy he brings. So if I'm able to bring some of that to the world of layout design, happy to do so. But I do sincerely love the creativity. I do see a parallel in the work that he does with painting and what we're doing with layout design. Because there's that same sort of, there isn't a world, there's this idea of a world, and then you're bringing it to life. And in this case, I want there to be a little bit of character between this side, which is pretty much just going to be trees and mountains. I think that's basically that side. We could do something in the corner, albeit the idea is that you just put a backdrop there. But I like the idea of like a little creek. I like the idea. What I'm starting to see as I think of this is that we have this little valley. I mean, not really a valley, but I guess just this little gap between the mountains that's right here. So there's a road that comes here and ends here, or maybe comes here and curves off this way. Like so. So it comes in, curves off. There's this church, maybe a general store, maybe a house, and then it disappears there. And then we're back in the mountains, like then into the curve that is mountains. And then we're also getting mountains on the other side, but then there's a little creek, and we have just a little trestle here. Just a little trestle with a little creek. I think that just it adds a little something something, and you know I like my water features. Uh, let's see what you guys say. Still creating Huntsville, Alabama. Ron Paladin, 60s, 70s. This was where my early Railfin years happened. Isn't it great to be able to explore our nostalgia through a train sim? I think that is such a treasure in and of itself. Bethany, aka the lovely wife, says, "Well, I have been watching you make a wooden train, but that will not run on a layout. Sadly, no." What she's referring to, if you've never heard of a company called R Duck Locomotive Works, Google search them. They make these. They make these really excellent laser cut wood kits with that are prototype locomotives, steam, diesel, freight cars that work. I mean, they're not motorized, but they work in the sense that the side rods turn. They have valve gear on them. So I'm building that as a fun project when I'm not doing trains and things. Let's see. Eugene Kleiss. I'm glad you're having a good night. Pacific Productions, currently working on animated series. Another I was working on remake. I'll have fun with that. And Space Ant with Ginger in the process of 3D printing an HO scale rail barge. IRL sizes 1,000 feet by 400 feet long. That sounds big. That sounds big even for HO. So kudos to you for that as a project. That sounds super cool. There we go. Okay, so here's our little trestle. I mean, the babiest of trestles. And arguably, that might be a little too small, and I have to make it a little bigger for the sake of fitting it into the sim. Can I do that as a thing? Yes, I can do that as a thing. Yay. Just because the terrain deformation here in this game isn't always the most robust. Oh yeah, that's small enough. But now we get to have just a itty bitty creek. I just think that gives it a little bit of character, a little bit of something. And now to figure out where that creek goes. This is like the part where Bob Ross will be like, where do we put that big tree? And I'll go, and here we have to make a decision about this creek. And I think just curving off like so is perfect. We've got room for our road here. And I'm going to use a creek spline. And I want a thin creek. Why am I not seeing many creek options? Because I got these. I mean, I guess I could use that one. Not quite what I had in mind. That's a little too active. But we'll do it for now, and then we'll change our mind later, and that's fine. But I want it to be very, very small. Not too wide at all. Just a little creek. Baby creek. And I'm going to make it go toward the corner here. And I have to figure out where the bound of my room is. So there, essentially. Okay. We'll take it all the way out, like so. And I need to raise the scenery around it, like so. Just to get the ends to conform nicely. Oop. A little too much, but yep. Just a little creek there. Little, like, this looks nice. That makes me happy. Like so. Cute. Okay, now this church, this town scene, because I want to start with that and then because I do want this something of a claustrophobia, this sense of like the mountains are just all around you, because you can find photos of Leyland, West Virginia online, or look at Google Maps. It's West Virginia. The mountains are just there and everywhere. But this little peace, this little tranquility in the midst of all that. That's what we're going for. Arduck, I follow them on Instagram. Their models are so good. Almost makes me wish I went with their models in sense of HO scale stuff. Their models are fantastic. They are. He was. I'm building my first, which is the Montezuma model, and I got to meet him at the Amherst Train Show. Oh, we should talk about Amherst. We'll get to Amherst in a second, but I met him there, and I got this Montezuma set, which was very nice of him to give, and gorgeous model. Really, really creative. Like that, I give him credit because in a field where there's so much train merchandise, he has come up with something that is truly unique and really well done. Let's see if I can put trestle abutments. I need not quite the right rock, but we'll make it work. Abutment, brown ballast. I need gray ballast, creosote. Yeah. There we go. And we put it like so. That looks good. And we put another one like so. I guess I should probably walk it all the way back to there, and I can make that a little wider. There we are. Without, yeah, I like that. That looks good. That makes me happy. Just this little creek, this little thing. Okay, now we need a road. So, and that's because we're improvising here and figuring out what do we want in this. It's good to sort of say, well, here's the. Obviously, we started with the track, and now we're going with roads in that sense of, if the road is here, that is a fixed space, and ergo, that leaves me with where I can put buildings and how many buildings I want and so forth. We're going to go with a JR dirt road. We're going to go with something narrow. I mean, we are talking narrow West Virginia roads. So we want really teensy weensy, teeny weeny weeny. Small, teeny weeny weeny. That's what I meant today. And we've got this dirt road here. I like the idea of the church being up on just a little bit of a hill from the road. Just a little bit of a hill. Just because then, I mean, we don't really, with this track plan, have to worry that everything appears to be at the same height, because it definitely isn't all at the same height. But even within the town, then there's just this. I mean, having driven through West Virginia, there isn't a lick of flat to be seen in this region of West Virginia at all. Everything is at some degree of angle. And we'll put a spline point there. Something like that. We've got this church on the hill, which I'm digging that. I like that. Just to, I mean, I was thinking, oh, I haven't done a church in a while. Then I realized that we put one on West Hallmark and Cuddly. But that's okay. I think that it has reason and purpose here. This feels good. Maybe a post office. Ooh. A church and a post office, and I think will be good on the buildings. I don't want a ton of things. Ooh, that'd be kind of fun. So this is the East Broad Top post office. I think it looks a little too big, though. It's a neat building, but it feels too big. I like it. Reminds me that it's a thing, and I might want to do other things with it. Let's see what might be a little bit more discreet. You know, like that's discreet, right? Okay, let's try Apple. There we go. I mean, I was about to say that's almost too rundown, but we are talking West Virginia, and you know, West Virginia is a West Virginia is a story of resilience. In so many different ways. I think it is too often the butt of jokes, but there is a resilience to West Virginia that I think does not always go fully appreciated. This is our little slice of it. So we've got our church, we've got our post office. I mean, admittedly, it looks a little weird having the church on the hill and not the post office, but I'm thinking maybe if we put the post office down here and then have another road, it's gonna feel too busy if we put another road, is the question. I don't know. I'm not. I definitely want the post office, but I'm not. Hold on. Oh, what if we put the post office here? That might be the way to do it. Yeah, there we go. I'm digging that. Okay, and because I want to get I really want the mountains to start soon, and I'm realizing that even though I put this road here, I actually want it here. I want it to go there, and then boom, there's the mountains again. Hey, Matthew Harris. Thank you for joining Pacific Productions. Thank you for supporting the show. Need to have a company store so you can have a place to own your soul. We do have company store models, although I think the ones that I have are pretty big. Like I have the East Broadtop company store, but that is a very big company store. I mean, it's a cool structure. We should totally do something with it on a build, but this is not the build. It's and there's nothing wrong with it. That would totally be an acceptable way to do it, so to speak. But quite what I want to do. Yeah, these are all a bit big. Now this is more like what I think you had in mind. A nice structure. I like it. But I think it overwhelms the church visually, and I'm gonna call it good with what I've got. I definitely like the idea. I'm picturing this scene with like, I like this that there'd be children like kids that are playing in the creek. I think that'd be fun. That feels very I'm getting nostalgia, even though I never lived in West Virginia. I was certainly not the kind of kid who played in the creek. That was not me. But this sort of definitely Winston Link vibes with this. Definitely Winston Link elements to this, even though this is CNO and not NW. But there's a wistfulness that I'm feeling when building this. I don't know. Maybe you guys are feeling it too. Maybe you think I'm crazy, but if you've been watching my live streams enough, the craziness has already been kind of fairly well established. I appreciate you going along with it. Okay, I should put the walls in place so that I know where my back bounds are going to be, because that's going to impact things a little bit when it comes to how I do my mountains. We're going to unlock the walls layer. We're going to put the wall. I think that's what I want to do for this one. Nope, not that one. Blue, maybe. Yes, EMM. That's what it was. EMM as opposed to EMT. So we're going to go with roughly where the bounds of the wall should be. Because we have the room, we're definitely going to curve the walls. Well, I don't want to curve the wall, but I am going to curve the backdrops. Because that way it's going to look nice and smooth. So these are the walls here. And then I'm going to put another one here. From there to... Oh, there we go. To there. I think I made that one too short. I did. It goes to there. So there's our walls. So that gives us our bounds. This is what we have to work with. This is where we can fit our mountains into. I can actually extend this a wee bit that way, and that a wee bit that way. And I can narrow down the... like so. Too sensitive. Need to turn this down like so. And like so. And then, okay. Big old mountain. Now I'll turn this up. Like so. I should probably put the backdrops in place too, because I think that will inform how I go about my mountain. Maybe a little bit. I should also lock in those wall layers so they aren't doing weird things. Borders. So negative 80? Sure. For now. I'm gonna have to change my scale thinking once I come to part of the show where I need to do things. Ooh. Okay, those are the wall bounds. Then, oh yes, and then we need our bounds back here. I'm gonna start by leveling all that to that height, like so. Just so we can see what we have to work with. And it looks a lot like that. And then, yeah. I'm still going to have to figure out how to transition from the visible to the staging, but we're not going to worry about that just yet. Some point, and then we have the curved backdrops. Want to put those in next, or do I want to... Well, let's look at the backdrops we've got. Let's do that first. Because we definitely want to figure... The backdrop is really what's going to make this. And I think I even know which one I want to use. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Is it the one no shadow? Does that look like West Virginia? Yeah, that looks like West Virginia. But it isn't the first time I've used that one here on Great Chainlink Outside, so maybe we'll do something different. It's an interesting one, but it does make us look like we are up in the mountains. I'm not quite sure that I want that. Let's see. It would look like this, which... Yeah, it looks like we're standing on a mountain. Perspective is everything. Literally and figuratively. I mean, it is a nice backdrop, but I think it's too much like we're on an overlook. Not... Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm being overly critical. This is a possibility. We will make this one. And see, this is part of the advantage with Train Z. For those of you who are new to the show, is and you're looking at this and going, Isn't it nice to... That looks really cool that I could see my backdrop before I actually place it. And yeah, to me, that's the appeal, is this ability to, in part, you can try these different ideas before you commit to them. I like that one. I thought I made a no shadow version of that one. I guess I didn't. Oh well. Because I like this, but then it casts this big ol' ugly shadow over everything, which there's a way to get rid of. But it's boring and I don't want to take time on stream for it. Which is too bad, because that is actually right what I want. That sort of... In fact, part of what I like about it is that it has this little valley or gap in the mountains, I guess we should say, that I could line up exactly with where I have the gap in the mountains on the with the creek and so forth. And I wish that didn't have a shadow. Let me see if I can fix that really quickly. If I can fix that in a minute or less, your pizza is free. Something like that. Means I have to go into... And this part, unfortunately, you can't see. That's why I want to make it quick. 6DES backdrop. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to modify mine. And I have to go in there. I have to change the build value. And I have to go into the mesh table. I have to remind myself how to do it with another one. So, while I'm doing this, let me read a comment from MILW Ruby. Hello, everyone. I'm volunteering at the Minnesota Transportation Museum this weekend and thinking about recreating our G-scale layout in trains. Fun. That sounds like a great project. I got into this whole thing because of seeing train layouts and going, I want to recreate that. I want to take that layout home with me, so I learned how to build it. And that's what I did. That's where we want it. Okay. So yeah, and the good thing with Train C is that undo button. You don't like what you've done? Very easy to just redo it. And I'm going to submit that for edit. And hopefully it won't do weird things. And then if I go here, I fixed it. Yay. You will note it now does not cast a shadow. And if you're into Trainsy and you're like, how did he do that? Well, just shoot me a line. Or Google. There's answers to that on the Trains forums, but now I'm gonna put my other... So, well, I want to get my elevation right. This is too big, too intimidating. We're gonna lower it like so. And I think it's on the walls layer, but it doesn't matter too much which layer it's on. That feels right to me. Big enough that they're looming, but not, oh my gosh, I can't see any blue. That feels about right to me. I'm going to put one here, like so. It goes to that, and then we set the elevations, and then we just do our best that we can to... Oh, I think I got it backwards. I want to put that, and here, this end here. We're just going to try to match them so that when you look at them, you're like, oh, that's one continuous backdrop, and not that looks like a mess. And this is in some ways more detailed than you might decide to go into in your own build, but that's the beauty of Trainsy, is that you can add as much or as little detail as you want to your layout. Okay, we got it to match up. Now we've got that nice clean seam there. It does come in on an angle. I might do different things there. Because if we look, it's supposed to. Sometimes I'm a little bit too rigid in how I interpret track plans, but that's what I do. Single back. No, not single back. Is that what I wanted? Yep. Single-sided regular. The idea is that your backdrop would actually curve in like this, and that's how you're obscuring this transition there. I'm not sure if that's the way I'm going to go about hiding this. I could reveal it until the very end. But I could also make a tunnel portal right about here and then have a mountain there. That's probably what's going to be easiest. But let me finish with my backdrops and then we'll get that in place. 8:16. Doing good on the time. That's what I like about building these small layouts, is that the basics are out of the way so we can really go to town with the detail on these. I have fun with that. Why can't I grab that? Probably because I switched layers and locked it. Nope. I need to grab my... There we go. That's what I wanted. And then we're going to start here. I like this one. I do. This is a nice backdrop. And it just shows how much of a world of difference backdrops can make when it comes to model railroading. You may not have a lot of space, but with the right backdrop, you can make your layout feel like it's as big as you want it. You might only have a 2x4 space, but you can make it seem like you're in downtown Manhattan if you wanted to. Little funky with the way that peaks, but I'm going to accept that now because I don't necessarily have an easy alternative with that for the time being. And we'll be hiding this behind trees and stuff, so it'll be a little less apparent what's going on there. Because, yeah, that I can't lie, that bothers me. Yeah, like so. And then if we switch the two ends, that might make me feel a bit better. So it's not like it's ending on the one, but it, yeah, that. There we go. Just need to make this a little longer. And make this a little longer this way. There we go. That's good. Okay. So now we are in the heart of the mountains. This is the vibe I am going for. This is the vibe that makes me happy. Hello, Mr. Railyard. You're building Seaview in Trains 22. Good luck to you, man. Seaview is a beautiful train simulator route built for Microsoft Train Simulator. I reviewed it way back in the days about the Railyard. It's an amazing route, but boy, there are areas on that I can only begin to imagine how you would build them in Trains E. Easier than MSDS, though, that's for sure. That route stands the test of time. So, all right, now that we've got our backdrops in place, let's get serious about mountains. And I think what I'm going to do, not what I wanted to do. What I am going to do is I'm going to have a tunnel portal here. I could just have a footbridge, which is what they recommend as a scenic divider. They being Dan, who designed this fantastic track plan. Could do it that way. I could see a footbridge. We could try it. We'll try it. Just something different, I suppose. But we're still going to want some degree of mountains here. Some degree of mountains and hills. And like so. Should probably place another layer of trees in the foreground to make it seem deeper. So there's a foreground trees and then there's the mountain trees. That will also help when it comes to the illusion of we are deep in the mountains. And so to do that, I'm going to go to my backdrops and I'm going to look for IDS forests. And I'm going to look for a tree backdrop that looks kind of sort of like, yeah, like that. Yeah, I can dig it. I should check and make sure my wall is actually... Oh, a little too far in. Kind of cut the staging out. Let's do that because then I can... If I move it back, then I'll have more room for the trees and whatnot. MIW Ruby, you have the privilege of being employed by a model railroad place. Their layout is freaking huge. I like the... Oh, wow. That sounds gigantic. Good on you for having that opportunity. That sounds like a lot of fun. Oh, I see. So I put the sky in the right place, but I put the... Got it. Okay. I just need to move the backdrop back. So give me a little bit more room, and then I can put actual trees in the foreground. I like that. Like so. Yep. And where's my other point? And we move that to there. There we go. Now we've got a little more space to work with, which will allow us to have these trees, but also then I can put 3D trees that'll look a little bit more. Good enough. I could always make a custom backdrop if I really wanted to, but that is good enough for now. Oop, I'll need to... I can fix that, put it that way though. We're going to have our trees going like so, and our mountains like that. We really want to get the sense that we're in the mountains as much as we can in the mountains. Yeah, yep, like that. I like that idea of the footbridge with like a little path going across. I don't know where it's going from or to, but I do like the idea of a footbridge because I don't do footbridges. So that would be something fun and something different. Yay for fun, yay for different. And let me make sure I'm on the right layer. Mr. Rail, you're going to be very happy to see Santa Fe 3751 from KNL. Yep, I know that Steve's working on that. That's going to be a nice one when he has the chance to finish that off. There we are. There's our tree backdrop like so. Yeah, that makes me happy. That makes me happy. And we'll do some more of the tree placement thing along here. Probably have to add some more spline points, but that's okay. Keeping in mind, we are going to also hide this a little bit behind other trees. But that will definitely make things look good. Yeah, I like that. I'm realizing I probably should have spun it the other way around so that the shadow is on the side where you can't see. The Train Z's lighting follows real-world lighting east to west. You can't exactly have flat lighting like you would in a layout, so it means that there's shadows being cast this way. But I could change that later. I don't know that I feel like changing that now. HO has one of the biggest helixes around. It takes like 20 minutes to go up or down. It's the only helix I've ever seen in person, so it may not actually be that big, but I don't know. Helixes are nifty model railroading inventions. You can definitely do a lot in a little, especially when it comes to main lines. I have built a helix for a model railroad in Train Z, but the challenge with Train Z and helixes, or really any double-decker layout, is that ability to have two scenic layers on top of each other. You can't really do it in this game. And I'm going to show you the trick we're going to use for the staging underneath, because we're not going to... That's not going to be scenic. That's going to be done another way. So I need to reveal this track that got hidden when I got excited with the mountains. So I'm thinking we'll build that little footbridge. And then we'll paint the terrain, and then well, yeah, we'll put the footbridge, paint the terrain, put the trees and the scenery. Looking good. Let's do it. While I'm doing that, if you're watching this and saying, Nick, you seem crazy, but you seem to know what you're doing, and I'd love to have. I need help with designing my layout, or I have designed my layout, but I'd love to see what it looks like in a train simulator. I do take commissions, and I'd be happy to help you bring your vision to life. You can email me. My contact info is on greattrainlayouts.com. So, trees, eh? Let us clear that and look for some STRMMs. Sosnas? Nah. No, we need the thick stuff. We need yeah, the BUKs. Yeah, so nice BUKs like so. And we'll probably put some that are peeking through, but not of those BUKs. Like that. Then yeah, like so. Ooh, that looks nice. I like the look of that. I really should turn that though. Those shadows of the trees are bothering me. We're gonna save this, which I probably should have done earlier, but here we are. We're gonna save it. We're gonna take everything and we're gonna copy it, and we're gonna paste it, and we're gonna see if it copies and pastes without doing any funky weird things. If it doesn't, I'm not gonna worry about that now. Oh, it's gonna. That's okay. I don't mind that. Not the end of the world. Because I have locked layers, so I'm gonna have to unlock those layers. And if I say, okay, I'm copying all of this, and I'm changing the orientation. Wow, that looked better than I thought it would. And now you can see it has all this nice even lighting, which is what I wanted. Hard thing to get trains to do even lighting, but when I do, it looks much better. That makes perfect sense. I'm happy with that. So, yay for things that work on the first try. I'm gonna have to reassign the base map to the bottom layer. Something tells me that's not a big deal. Then I can rehide that. So, what else do I want to do? I want to reveal this track again. And I want to fix my track work here. It just got a little out of whack. Not much, just a little. Interesting. Something changed a wee bit, but that's okay. I can probably do like so. Good enough. And then this can go down like so. Good enough. That'll do. Mr. Railyard, I would love to send you some of my roots for your enjoyment. Well, thank you. If you emails on the website, greattrainlayouts.com, if you want to share your creations. And honestly, if you want to share with me your creations that you do in Train C, your model railroads, I'd love to see what you have going on. I'd love to hear from you. I always appreciate hearing from folks who listen to the podcast or watch these videos. It's I do this for fun, but it's always nice to know that what I'm doing means something to you in some way. Yeah. That's the ticket. Okay, so back to the part of the show where I'm making STRMM trees, and we want the dubs. And, yeah, we'll borrow our trees from this. We'll do a couple of pines. Fill a little bit more in with these guys. Gonna want some darker trees to contrast that. Nice to have different shades of color, even where we're going only green on this. Here's the funny thing. So I was gonna make this route. Initially, I was thinking, man, we've done so many summer routes. I should make a fall route. But then I realized, well, when I made the Pond Creek branch, I made that as a fall route. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's make a winter route. Surely I haven't done a winter route in a while. And then I'm like, oh yeah, except for the winter route I made 2 months ago with the DLW electrics. So I actually haven't been making as many summer layouts as I thought I was. It's kind of funny to me, but I think, oh, I need to change it up when I'm actually been doing not a half bad job of changing up on a regular basis. Got to give myself more credit in that front. Full Buccaneers is coming back, and one of the people responsible for it. We got the blessing from original creator. We can't wait to share more. Good. Have fun with it. If you need me to reprise the Scottish engineer that I was on the original show, I'd be happy to do so. But if you recast that, best best of you, have fun with that. Full Buccaneers. So, for those who don't know what Full Buccaneers is, that was a YouTube series from the mid to late 2000s. Basically, a homemade American Thomas and Friends kind of a thing. Created by a friend of mine, Luke Iverson, who now works at Trains Magazine as a writer. And occasionally I'll say to him, "Oh, Luke, you remember way back when we were doing Full Buccaneers?" And he'll kind of go sigh, go, "Oh yeah, I remember those days." Um, that looks too light. Oh, I'm realizing I'm missing my backdrop. No wonder it looks lighter because I don't have my backdrop. Oh man, I'll have to replace that. Well, we'll do that last. I'm enjoying placing my trees. Yeah. So I know that he kind of got busy with life and couldn't really continue the show, but I'm glad that other people are carrying on the torch. That was a fun series to create for as long as, well, I can't take credit for creating, but it was a fun series to watch for the many years that Luke was doing that. Okay, that is feeling good. Now I need to replace my. I want to put the backdrops back. I'm feeling too empty. It feels too open now. Amazing the power that those backdrops have in terms of making you feel like you are actually in a place. So I'm gonna do. That looks good to me, except maybe I'll extend that a bit more like so. And oh, wait. Right, negative 54. And plop D. And then another one here that goes like there to there. And although do it like that. And plop D. And I didn't get that to match up that well, but I will move it so that I do. This is a layout where I could really imagine having fun making it, a rainy, foggy kind of a day. I mean, we've got these bright clouds for a sky backdrop, but I could envision making it a really atmospheric, like it's a foggy morning. Oh, you could have fun with that. And we could do a little bit of that thanks to the special effects that is the sim. I need to move that so that it actually lines up with the scenery as it is on the other one. Maybe I should extend that a bit more to lower that down because that seems just too high. And maybe move that a bit closer and that a bit farther out. Close enough. I like, that side came out a little bit worse for wear though. Oh, it looks great there, except that then maybe that'll work. Maybe that'll work. That looks not good. And I had it so perfect. Oh well. But I really want to get this right, because sometimes the backdrops, they're less important. It's like, if it's close enough. But in this case, I feel like really want it to look right. I think here the backdrop is one of those cases, kind of like with the Morton branch. It really adds to the look and the feel of it. Oh, goody. Okay, we are almost there on that front. And move it like so. There we go. Good as new. And I'm liking that a lot. I am liking that a lot. MILW. Ruby, considering creating a series of your own. Have fun. I mean, beauty of YouTube is you can experiment so much with with different formats, different series. Enjoy it. I mean, that's so much of what I have gone on to do in my life is because I created a YouTube series at the rail yard. And that led to the roundhouse. It led to a lot of fun, exciting adventures. Oh, I'm realizing I'm going to need to replace the track. Because it's kind of not the right tack. There we go. Boom. 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 And boom. That looks good. That looks very good. Okay, so we are getting there. We are really, really getting there. Now I need that footbridge, and then I need to paint the terrain. I need to do the dig holes, and then we'll be good. That makes me very happy. So I need to move the shell like so. Here, get it to behave for what I need it to do later. Like that. And let's look at this footbridge. So I like the idea that like there's this path that maybe the miners have to take to get to the mine, and leads over a footbridge. Maybe the footbridge goes to the town that we can't see. I like that. Let's try that. Search footbridge. Interesting. It's a kit. Well, let's see if I have what I need to make the footbridge. Well, there's a deck. That's a good sign. Call it 10 meters high. I need a coal car to see what kind of clearance I'm going to need to clear that. So, Hopper. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't need to be that high up. So we can make it a little bit lower. Like so. Because if I don't have to really elevate it much from that level, yeah, that looks cool. I like the idea of hiding your scenery transition with a footbridge. Tricky, but interesting. If you did it as like, yeah, okay. It's gonna be a little tricky to do in Train Z, but we'll make it work. And we will do so by playing around with the scenery, since we know what the height of that is. Or we could just manually move it, like so. I like the idea of a footbridge transition. Just something kind of different and unique. And then I'm going to place a spline to pretend that is sort of the shadow of what we can't see, where things disappear to. And then we're going to raise this up so that we can pretend the footpath after it crosses the bridge goes that way and does further things in that general direction. Here's our footbridge. Oh, have I been placing this on the walls? Yep. Good thing I checked. So we're going to change that to be on the root layer. And let's see, that's our spline height. So we just set the bridge fence to that same height. And it's going to look like that. And then we're going to add this at the same height. And we're going to split the spline. And we're going to move it like so. I'm going to lower the terrain so that we can actually see where the path goes. But the result being that we should get a nice result from this. The result should be a nice result. I'm glad I could articulate that so well. The result is we get this nice path. Adds to the intimacy of this. Because this is obviously a single crew. I mean, you could run it yourself. You could run it with a conductor, but there's no dispatcher. There's no meets. You're not running more than one train. Like it is, as my wife is a fan of saying, it is what it is, which is not a bad thing in any way, shape, or form. It's just to say that it's worth recognizing what the strengths of any particular design are. And in this case, I think the strength is, I mean, the number one strength is you're fitting O scale into an incredibly small space. And then what we're going to do, it's going to be tricky, but not impossible, is we're going to pretend, because we can't do nice clean cuts with double layer stuff. It doesn't work like that. We're going to put a spline that's going to hide 10 meters. We're going to put a spline here. Not what I meant to do. Like so. And that's just going to kind of mimic cutting underneath the layout. Like so. And like so. I have to make sure it clears. It does not quite clear, so I'm going to lower that a little bit more. Like so. And get that. And get that. And there we go. With the net result being we pretend that the trains are appearing and disappearing right underneath this bridge. I am going to need to put a little spline there to hide that piece of the terrain. Let me see. Which spline do I want to use for that? JS texture, right. These JS texture splines are great for opportunities like this where I need to pretend that there's ground where in fact there is no ground. I'm going to look for a dark grassy one. These are all a bit too light. So what do you think of this layout so far, guys? I know that we're still looking at a lot of the rough scenery, but we are very fast approaching the part where it all comes together. and then we get to play test it. And I wonder what you guys think of what you are seeing so far. Ooh, that was way too low. So we'll raise that up to so, and then put it there, and then oh, there, and then lower it down like so, and raise that piece up. Not that piece, but this piece up like this, and move it to here. And then I just need to move this a little closer just to make sure it is actually hiding. And there we go. Boom. We have hidden our transition from the scenic portion to the unscenic portion. Last thing we'll do is put some trees there, because this is probably a little too open. So we're going to put some trees there and some kush bushes. Kush technically means bush. I am aware of this, but I am me. We're going to put some bushes there to hide that is in fact not the ground. Like so, and then, ooh, interesting. I don't want it to be affected by the weather like that. Let me edit the environment and set this in. If you ever have questions about whatever I'm doing and I'm kind of in my own head and not saying things, feel free to ask too. I don't mean to be obtuse about when I'm talking about quist bushes or, oh, I have to go into here, and I don't actually explain what here is. MILW Ruby. I really want to turn my love of preservation into a career. I really don't want to slave away at a class 1, but it feels like a very competitive market for those who aren't mechanically brained. Okay. Let's talk about that while I am putting in more bushes and scenery. Because I love talking about this concept of how you can take rail preservation and make it a career. And I will preface this by saying it is difficult. It is absolutely difficult. But it is also absolutely possible. Where to even begin? You have to really love, and I mean really love, rail preservation to commit to it. Number one, if you're going to make it a career, I mean, there are so many things I could say to that. Number one is get connected. Get to your local historical society, museum, get connected. Number one above all else. Even if your museum may not be large enough that it pays full-time staff and employees for its functions, but you're in preservation. And once you're in preservation, you have the chance to learn from your organization. You have the chance to meet people. You have the chance to meet other people from other organizations. Make the most of that. Push yourself to meet other people. Get to know them and their experiences. It is absolutely doable. But I will say some of the things that you should consider is being willing to move to different parts of the country. I know many folks who've made their career who have moved cross country multiple times to follow the jobs. And always be open to learning. Because if you're open to learning, people will see that and people will give you opportunities. Very important to be open to learning. That is going to open so many doors. Because the thing is that so often in rail fandom, there's this illusion that we have to know everything. You have to know what's going on. You have to know all the facts. And the reality is you don't. In fact, you have to accept that you don't know everything and prove that you're willing to learn it. And I think that's massively important. Um, so diligence. I will also plug Next Generation Railroaders, which is the nonprofit that I've founded a year ago with a team uh, where we are specifically looking to educate people. Well, we're not looking, I should rephrase. Hard to double task on this. So I'm going to pause to say Next Generation Railroaders is about highlighting the educational opportunities that exist in rail preservation uh, and connecting people who want to get into preservation with the ideal opportunities. You could go to nextgenrr.org, and we're starting with virtual programming, so you can learn from people who work and volunteer at different museums and tourist railroads and freight railroads around the country. So, oh, is that where my backdrops went? Did they? Oh no, I never mind. So yes, nextgenr.org. You could go there. You can learn more about what we are doing, and I encourage you to check it out. But I wish you the best of luck in trying to pursue rail preservation as a career. It is absolutely possible. It's just be willing to learn, be willing to network. Those are the top pieces of advice. And if you ever have any questions, anyone watching this ever has questions about rail preservation, I am always happy to give my perspective and feedback on these things, because it's obviously something I care very deeply about, and I'm really fortunate, and I will say for me, I'm very very fortunate in how life has given me the opportunity, and my circumstances have given me the opportunity to do what I love, to do Streamliner Media as my career, which isn't solely in rail preservation, but does regularly intersect with it. Um, so, hopefully that helps. Come for the model railroading, stay for the for the advice column uh, on rail preservation, something along those lines. Mm. Mm. Oh, and Mr. Rayliard, love to have me on your team in any way. Yeah, shoot me an email. Because it send me an email with Discord stuff and so forth. Otherwise, it's too likely I could forget this, because after hour 3 of live streaming, my brain is pretty mushy. Okay. And speaking of which, we're getting close to hour 2. I want to make sure that we've got. Interesting. I want to make sure. Oh, and of course I attached it to the walls. That's not too important. I want to make sure that we have time to do the visible staging, because I think that's going to be some of the fun. And you're going to ask, how are we going to do that? Well, to do that, so what are we going to do, visible staging? So it's recognizing we've got this track that disappears underneath the footbridge here, and then it is over here. And wow, it is, that is not where it should be. It should be at 0. Like so. And also that is curved when it should be straight. For reasons. Oh, but I have to delete the hopper first. Edoke. Actually, I should check the clearance for a steam locomotive too. And And I'm realizing that steam locomotive might need a little bit more height. But we've got this track here, and I do want, when we play, to be able to see it from there. I want you to be able to see the train when you look down beneath, because that's going to be part of the fun, I think. I mean, it also means you will see the upper side of this, which I'm not so crazy about, but we can only do so much. So let's check the clearance based on. We're gonna get a quick peek at our MP. Get a quick look at what we're playing with. Yep, I made that footbridge 2.0, and I'm also realizing I didn't connect it to things. So let's fix that, and then we'll do the underneath staging, and then we'll get to the playtime. I need to make this a little bit higher, clear. I should have checked that first as opposed to a... And I also think I put it on the wrong layer. So I'm going to unlock that. So I need it to be at this height. Means I'm probably also going to need it to start a little farther back. Because it's going to need to have some stairs leading up to it. Move that for the minute. That can go up here. And we'll get all that up to the appropriate height. Remove the... And then that's definitely got to be lowered a bit. Or actually raised up like so. And that, and like not that, that. And if I don't hide the scenery, yes, now we can actually fit a steam locomotive underneath there. But I also now need to figure out how to make stairs. Yep. Okay. So we're gonna move these ladders in like so. And we're gonna move this grass over like so. Because that's still pretty well hidden. Now we need stairs. I'm gonna move this to up to the stairs. Let's see what we got. Stairs. Those are metal, but I am happy enough with them to say sure. They are pretty much what I'm looking for. We'll place them, and then we'll take a quick look and see if there's anything else I want to do instead. Box stairs. Model railroad stairs, definitely not those. Footbridge. Oh, footbridge kit stairs. Perfect, because this is the footbridge kit, so... Ooh. Goody. Yay for the footbridge kit stairs. That actually looks pretty halfway decent. Then I need to raise up the terrain on the other side of the mountain so it doesn't look weird. Like so. And so. And there we are. There. Goody. I am happy with that. Let us paint this. And also raise up the fascia. Because I think that could be a little higher in relation to the track. Sometimes I like having the fascia lower because then it's like you're looking up. But here where we're in the mountains, if anything, the fascia should almost be a bit higher. But higher would probably look too weird. So we're going to do a compromise, which is basically in the middle. Right, basically a track height. And, yep. And then we can raise up the terrain to the height of the spline. Ooh, which is a little too high in that case. Just a little too high on both ends. And lower a little bit on this end. And it's true. I always go over the top with my builds, but in the sense that you wouldn't have to go to this level of detail and being particular about the final look of it. But I like doing this. This kind of stuff I do actually find fun. Might not be what you would find fun to build in Train Z, but for me, this is I love pushing the envelope of how much I can make this game and these environments look like an actual model railroad. Um, Good luck with your getting into 2D animation, Mr. Railyard. Can you do your voice for the full Buccaneers? Yeah, I'm amenable to that. Just shoot me a message and we can talk. I need some bumpers. I'm realizing that I need bumpers. That's the kind of thing I'm gonna start playing this and test driving this, and then I'll realize, oh yeah, I never built any bumpers. And I'll probably realize it as my hopper cars are about to run off the track, too. Okay, so we've got our 4 at the end of here. Boom, 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 boom. And then I need 1 over here. And that should do that. Let us paint. So in this case, I'm going to start grass, and I want it to be very, very dark, very. Oh, I like that. Yeah, yeah. This is going to be our base. This is going to be our base for everywhere, and then we're going to layer on top of it. We're going to mix it up, but this makes it look very, very woodsy, very, very rural. Well, not just rural, but very much like we are in the woods. So that is our base. From that, we will vary it a little bit by adding different shades, like so. But man, I love that color. I feel like it's been a while since I built a layout like this kind of rich, dark color. But it just adds the sense of we are in a small space. From here, let's see, maybe bits of this, maybe especially around the creek. Like so. Yeah, just small peaks of green, very, very small. Right here, that seems appropriate. Here, here. With a actually, now I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, I've got this big empty space here. What do I want to do with that? I kind of like the idea of having a road crossing, but man, there's so many switches. I just don't know if it seems practical. But maybe it does. Hold on, maybe it does. If we built an offshoot of this road that goes through here like that, yeah, that feels reasonable, if I do say so myself. I like that. And then it's just a question of what we do here. That company store idea is a good one. But company store's probably too big. No, I don't want to lose that feeling of, I almost want to shrink it. Because I feel like I gave myself a lot more space than that. Yeah, I gave myself a lot more space than what the original design actually calls for. I think I'm just going to take space away. And then we'll add some bushes and that kind of thing. Because I just feel like, as it is, just feels too open. What I'm doing might not be what you would do, and that's totally fine. But that just feels to me like, because then I can put, although I do like having the crossing, but I want the crossing, and then that's kind of it. I don't know that I want more buildings. Not on this one. Your mileage may vary. Yeah, I like that. Okay, now we need some ballast. And I think this is GR2 PBR. Yep, and it's going to look like, yep, that. so. Not too thick on it, but I don't want the grass showing through in the ways it is. Ooh, grass, yeah. We should put some grass around too. I think that'll help, especially in the foreground. I want things to look really, really woodsy. That's the one thing we're missing at this point is woodsy, grassy. Lovely dovely. And here probably need more, a little bit of kind of black to represent PBR coal, like PBR ballast aggregate. Sure. How does that look? Yeah. Yep. Something like that. And now some grass. See what we've got on that front that I like for here. Oh, this, or maybe the sweet grass. Sweet or zoot? Zoot grass. That, I think, will do the trick. Perfect. Like so. And we'll just put a bunch of it here. Oh, actually, I have a thin spline of that, don't I? Yep, like so. And if we look at what that actually looks like from down below, because up here it looks all funny and goofy. But if we look down here, that looks legit. We like legit. We like legit a lot. Mm-hmm. And now we can put a bit more around the ends of buffers and in here before it kind of transitions away, because now we're getting into coal mining region. And we'll put some along here, along the front, because it does add a little bit of character in ways that I like. A little bit of sense of nature reclaiming back from the railroad. Just a bit. I mean, we're still in the steam era, but a bit of reclamation. And we'll put some grass along here. And then we'll go back to our big grass, like so. Here, here, here. And then along here. I'm liking how this is coming along. What do you guys think? I know you guys love when I do these mine layouts, and I try to give each a little bit of character and personality, just something different, because I don't want them to feel like, oh, there goes Nick again doing another mine. But we like having our happy little mines, as opposed to, well, we have our happy little trees, but we also have our happy little mines. I just think there's something particularly captivating about these mine scenes. They are really fun to develop and to do. This is giving me good feelings and good looks. Okay, getting there. Very much getting there. So now we are going to do dig holes. We're gonna reveal. We're gonna hide all this scenery that we've got here. Hide that using the power of the dig hole. Dig hole. And I'm hopeful that we can get the corners worked out fairly easy on this one. Like so. Oh, gonna need to fix the fascia there, because it did weird things on me, which sometimes trains does these weird things when it comes to fascia. There we are. Oh, need to raise that up a bit more though. Nope, not that. Or that. There we are. Let's see, dig a hole. to the dig hole layer. I'm going to be able to hide that layer. We are going to need a place. Yeah, that's not too bad. And then perfect. And we'll put one there. Probably not going to worry too much about these tonight. I'm going to get it close enough, and then I'll perfect it off stream. I know you guys are eager for playtime. I'm eager for playtime. We got a good steam locomotive to play with tonight, courtesy of our friends at Canal Trains, who I appreciate when they sponsor these streams. 4x8. So now we're just going to go to town. We're going to get rid of all of the in between. And we'll go boom, boom, boom. I'm not actually sure. I guess the door is going to be here, so we're going to put there, 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 and there. And here we go. Now we have our, and we can hide the dig holes. And then we can place a floor. Probably should place a wall and a door here, just so it doesn't look too odd that we don't have any space. Or that we have this. But you can also just play it so that we're mainly focused on this way. Let's get a floor in place. So our layout isn't floating in midair. And what do I want to do? I want to do, yeah, let's do stone. Always do nice cushy carpet, but this feels like a good time for stone. There we are. Yep. And see. Oh right, I'm gonna have to replace all the switch stands. We can do that. Like so. Now we lock the floor layer. We look around. And oh, right. Last thing we want to do, figure out how to reveal that staging. But we are already at 9:15. So I know we want to play with this thing. So I'm glad you like it, Mr. Railyard. Glad you like this. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to play with it in a minute. I am going to reveal the staging, but I'm not going to go to town on trying to make it look perfect. I'm just going to put a basic floor layer down. Yes, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so we're just going to put a basic layer down so that it looks presentable. So that you can look and see the track and go, that makes sense. That looks like it's supposed to be a thing. So I'm going to make our floor layer like so. I'm going to set it at a height of 0. And we're going to set the track on it. And try to get it as straight as we can. I should probably hide the scenery just to make sure that I can really see it as well as possible. A little too high up. We're going to lower that a bit, like so. And then we're going to lower it on the other side as well. And it's going to go here. So that way, when you look underneath the layout like so, you're like, oh, well, nope, that's not quite it. Need to... Oh, my curtain's too far back. Okay, well, what we'll do, have a separate curtain asset. I came prepared for such occasions. Actually, what I'm realizing I could do is very easily just put in a spline point here, and then I can raise this part up, which should make that look like it's raised up with it. Because we're not going for scrutiny here. This is just the staging section. If you're staring at my staging section, I appreciate that you have that level of concern of detail, but admittedly, it's not the best part of the design. The best is what's on top. But I like having that the sense of, okay, here's staging. Looks like it's, there's some degree of sense to it. And if I, and we pick up here. There we go. That's what I wanted to raise. Good. Okay, so now we've got this staging shelf, so it doesn't look like it's completely hanging in midair unless you stare off over there, but please don't. Or do. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. We're going to take this. We're going to take the thin shelf. Line. Not what I meant to click. Nope, not what I was looking for. We're going to take this thick curtain. No, not the curtain shelf, just the thin shelf. And we're going to raise this up. Like so. And there we have it. Now, the curtain ends, but you can see, well, you can kind of see. I mean, admittedly, the shelf does sort of hide it, so I maybe went to all that work for nothing to a point. Might need to make it just a shelf layer. Oh, I know what I can make. I know what I can make. This will work. So instead of that, we're going to do fascia thin. And it's going to be this. And it's going to... interesting. Yeah, I can do that. I can work with that. And because if I raise it up like so, then it looks like there's a table there. I'm going to split those. That's not quite what I want to do. We'll place that, straighten it, get the height, and duplicate it, and put it there. And then we'll put this here. We'll lower that. And now we have this thin layer, which is going to act like a shelf. And then you can still see the staging below it. Brilliant. At least I'd like to think it's brilliant. I'm going to put a spline there, delete that. And then I just need to add some more dig holes. And then, without further ado, we are going to get to play with this. And we're going to have ourselves a good time with a mallet. We're going to dig hole and place it here, 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 throughout. There we go. And I am pretty happy with that. We're going to close that up. We're going to switch over to the F2 just to preview briefly what this is going to look like. So there you have it. You have a staging track visible. Maybe a little too visible. I might play around with that later. And yes, I know you can see the top. Just, yes. But you've got the upper layer with your mine. You've got this, the various sidings. You have a runaround. You have a little wooden trestle. You've got a little village. I really like how this looks. This makes me happy. This makes me very, very happy. So, very last thing I'm going to do is just put in some switch stands. Because I'm realizing I did not do that. And it'll look better if I do. So, I need... yard. We will just bulk replace them and then manually... Nope, not what I want to do. Place all of them with this and then manually replace them one at a time for what we need. But also maybe I'm not going to worry about that right now because I know you guys are eager to see some steam switching action go on, and I don't want to keep you too long from that. So we're going to Just get these oriented the right way so I'm not looking at them going, man, that looks funky. Okay, so here is what we are going to do. We are going to have ourselves a grand old... Well, first we're going to save so we don't forget that that's a thing that we should do. And if we look over at the website, which is linked in the description, which has this track plan, it recommends for operations that we have a 2662 mallet, which is... We have a 2660, but close enough. And what we're going to do is bring in 9 to 12 hoppers and a caboose. And we're basically going to switch those 9 to 12 hoppers out. It says the tail track only has room for 1 to 2 hoppers at a time, but we've actually got room for more like 4 or 5. So maybe we'll go 10 hoppers. Or 12. I like my... No, 10. 10 hoppers. I'm going to bring in 10 hoppers and... do they need to be pushed? Gather up the loads. Shifter would head out. Tail track would likely allow 1 to 2 hoppers. You switch from the main track to tipple tracks. First order would be to gather up the loads. Working back and forth. On the main. Okay. So, I guess I'm just thinking about how do we want to bring in the cars on the tail end, or do we want to be pushing them up the hill? I feel like if we push them up the hill, then we can gravity roll them into the yard. At least a little bit. Although admittedly not by much. I'm thinking this through now because I feel like if I don't, there's a good chance that I'm going to mess this up or make it hard on myself. But this is the kind of thing we like to think through. So let's turn off the circle so we can think through this, right? If we pull the cars through, then we've got to park some on the main and we kind of manually shift them into place. If we push them, then we have to gravity roll them into place. And then we switch them from there. I'm going to say we're going to push the cars. But maybe have the caboose. Yeah, so a bunch of cars, caboose, locomotive. We'll do that. Okay, so I need C and O. 55-ton hopper. We're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And these are all empties. Of course. We need a caboose. What kind of cabooses do I have? That'd be kind of nice. I have an LNN caboose that's nice. There it is. So this is based on a C&O prototype, hence the C&O hoppers. But we're leasing our caboose apparently from the LNN, and we're leasing our motive power from the RP&P, aka the Richmond, Peabody, and Parker, which is the fictional railroad of Jointed Rails, Cole County. And this steam locomotive is designed for use on that route, but we're having some fun with it in a very different kind of way. So we've got our caboose, we've got our 10 empties. We are going to put it onto the staging track. If I can see the staging track, it goes right here. That looks right to me. So everything's nice and hidden. Perfect. Okay, so we've got the cars on the staging track there. Now we need to get our loads ready to go, and I want to mix it up a little bit. We're going to say that there's an empty box car that's got some supply, or that used to have mining supplies, that's now empty and ready to be brought back. So we're gonna have our, let's say, 11 hoppers. How many do I want? How many hoppers do I want? Maybe we'll just do 9 hoppers plus the boxcar back. So we've got 4 on one track, 5 on another. Sure. Okay, we'll do that. We've got 4 hoppers, 5 hoppers. These are all going to be loads. So copy that to those cars, and then on this track, same deal. We've got our cars. They're going to all be loads. So when we come in, we're going to have to switch the empties onto these tracks using our power, which is part of why we need to gravity switch them. So we gravity roll them into the yard so that we have the ability to do that. And then we're going to push them into position, so forth. And then let's go for a boxcar. Yeah, we've got a 40-foot C&O boxcar, which admittedly... Actually, no, I'm going to need to switch the order of this because I realized I don't think I made the boxcar. I did not make the boxcar compatible with the gravity switching. That could be an issue. Maybe we'll leave the boxcar in the back of the engine just so that I can do something with a boxcar, but I don't have to gravity switch with it. Is it cheating? Maybe, but my railroad. We're being creative in how we can switch this. And here we are. Okay, so we've got our train ready to go. We've got our loaded track set there. One last look before we get rolling. Southern, and I'll check your comments out. Southern St. Charles. That looks really great, Nick. Looking forward to seeing the switching. You'll want the local on the head end, though. Oh, thanks for tuning in, Dan. Okay. Well, Dan has spoken. I need to put the locomotive on the head end. So, we will do that. And since Dan is the one who designed this, I trust his judgment. So we've got that there. And then I'm just going to put a quick wall here just so that we've got something in case we turn our camera, we're not looking and seeing grid. Wall blue. But yeah, Dan, this is one that I've had my eye on for a while, so I'm glad that you like how it looks in digital form. It's a very... It's really... I mean, I love that you did something for O-Scale, because O-Scale, so often when it comes to prototype operations, just doesn't get much coverage. And then I'm just going to replace all the grid texture with black so that that isn't distracting us. And then we're going to get rolling. Black. Texture. And there we go. Alrighty. And yeah, I know I've got that sticking through. Dig holes. Unlock view. Dig hole. And we'll make it a 4x8. There we go. Okay. Yes, I have no door. No, I'm not going to worry about that right now. To the game. Saving. And now playing. So, we get to take number 850, which is... Wait. Where did 8... Oh. I forgot to make sure it was coupled to the train. Let us fix that. Okay, 850 is now coupled to the train. And without further ado, let's get rolling. I love that whistle. Let me know if you can't hear me over the sound of this. Okay, I think you should still hear me. And here we go. Emerging into the world, into the limelight, is number 850. Okay. So this is going to be our switch engine. This is number 850. Beautiful model by K&L Trains. It's a fictional Lima-built mallet with just incredible detail. I love this thing so much. I've been using it on the Secret Project for quite some time. It is a fun little locomotive. And if we climb up into the cab, everything's there. You can see it all. I mean, even the curtain detail. Like, I love... Steve does amazing work. This is another amazing model by him. So, let's do some switching. So I'm inclined to get this boxcar out of the way first, because we're going to need to... Well, I guess we don't have to gravity switch the... Well, actually, gravity switching the hoppers would make our life harder. So we're not going to gravity switch the hoppers. We're going to... Probably just going to take them up a couple at a time. Oh, I'm realizing I'm going to need to... Oh yeah, we're going to have to bring them in two at a time. That's going to be interesting. And I'm also going to need to change the switch radius. This is a boring technical thing that basically just means that I'm going to have an easier time of making my way through the turnouts than if I don't. And with that, we'll park our parts supply boxcar. We'll ring the bell. Dan says that tail track is crazy short on the prototype. Can't wait to see how many moves it takes. I mean, it looks like we're going to basically get 2 cars at a time, and that's it. So, it is going to be laborious. I mean, I guess it's possible. Like, is it possible, Dan, that they would have just pushed the cars up? And then if this tail track was on a grade, that they would gravity switch them down? Because then you'd get a little bit more capacity per car? That's my open question. But, oh god, this looks good. This makes me feel good. I am so happy with how this looks. It just... This looks like backwoods railroading. It feels like backwoods railroading. We've placed ourselves in the heart of West Virginia, in the mountains. Oh, that makes me feel so good. So, now comes the part of seeing how many... We're gonna try 2 hoppers first to be generous, and then we're gonna see if in the future we can get a 3rd one in there. But yeah, that is insanely tight. Looks to me like you could get... Well, you could definitely get 2, maybe 3 here. But you could get another couple if you go to that switch. So we'll switch these 2 and then we'll do a couple cuts of 4. Oh, actually, I threw the wrong switch because I'm not going to the team track. I'm going to main line of things. Oh, this track, like the track climbs as soon as it goes past the switches. Oh, I see why that would be a limitation. Yeah, so then you really do you need your locomotive. Hmm, man, crazy prototype. I totally love it. So we've got our switches set, so we're going to put our cars on the empty tipple track, which is great. And I think I created, what, 10? So we've got this cut of 2, then we should be able to do 2 cuts of 4. Oh, nope, I'm on the wrong track. I need to be on that track. But yeah, oh, this makes me happy. This is a, I mean, this is pretty wild for O scale to be able to fit this much in a 14-foot space, which I'm not going to say every apartment is going to offer you a room with 14 by 14, but some would offer you that kind of room. And if you really, I mean, obviously it goes without saying, this is a plan where you really love a specific thing. Like you really love your mallet locomotive or your 2 diesels, switchers, whatever you're using as your power. Like you really love that. You don't need around, you don't need the loop, but it is good. I think it is good as what for what it is designed to do. And I will say, part of why I like building plans like this is because even though it's very niche in terms of why you would build this, or if you would even build something that's just this, but I think the benefit of exploring it is that this is the kind of thing where maybe this would be part of a larger layout if you had a larger space for O scale or if you were doing HO. I love that we're going to get to explore gravity switching. And sometimes you learn by focusing on one specific thing rather than building a larger layout that has all these other elements. I think this would be really neat to see done in real life. Partially because I'd love to do the gravity switching thing. I, I'm trying to imagine that. Because as you saw earlier when we were testing this, if you were watching the stream earlier, that we ran a test train of hoppers down to see how fast they'd go, and they more resemble real world physics where the hoppers would very slowly start rolling and then pick up speed. Um, Whereas obviously if your O scale hoppers start rolling, they are just gonna go. But fun nonetheless. Uh, I love this engine. This is such a fun switching engine. When I messaged Steve about this, he's like, "Don't you think that engine's a little underpowered for it?" I'm like, "This is model railroading. We're not worried about real world physics and whether you could actually pull." But it's also true that because we're going uphill with the empties, I think that wouldn't be an impossibility for this engine. So here we are with 4 more cars. I'm realizing I forgot to put crossbox, but that's an easy fix for later. So now we're going to see if we can fit the 4 cars before the switch, before we do the shove. Hi Rosa, lovely to catch stream now. Just saw you got me to drop a book I've been unable to put down the past few days. So take that as a compliment. Lovely looking room. Oh, thank you, Rosa. That's very kind of you. Um, well, I'm glad that I hope you're enjoying whatever book it is that you're reading. Right now, oh, I don't have it with me. Well, I no, I can't say what I'm reading. It's related to the super secret project, but I'm reading a good book too. We'll just say that. Oh, I only have okay. So we've done it in 3 moves, which is probably pretty much what it was going to take anyway. We will put these 4 on this track, and then we'll put the remaining 3 over there. Oh, I love this. This is a vibe. This is very much West Virginia. We are switching vibe. We are working a mine. I love it. This is oh, this makes me. I know I always say this. I feel like I should have a shirt that says "This makes me happy." But oh man, these days we need anything that we can get that makes us happy, and this is one of those things. I love, I love the escape that building these train simulator worlds built, and I hope you enjoy being part of it. We're gonna back up a little bit more, and good enough. And then we're gonna make our last trip down, grab those empties, shove them onto mine track 3. Then we are going to get to the gravity switching part of the show, which is going to be very interesting. Oh, and our cars are getting loaded. That's fun. And so obviously when you play with this route, when it's available on greattrainlayouts.com, you can simulate the loading process. And maybe I'll even put an unload script on the bottom track. So if you just want to cycle the cars endlessly, you can do that. That's the beauty of train simming, is there's so many different ways to play. And the only right way is the way that you enjoy. And there's not really a wrong way. Ah, this engine. I love Steve's stuff. This is just such a nice model. And I really like the simplicity of the scene that I realized, and I also forgot to put the people figures playing in the creek, but I like the simplicity of the scene. I like that there's something here. Because you could just do trees and there'd be nothing wrong with that. But I like having the buildings. You could definitely make this. You could have this come more out. In which case, then you'd be. How do I want to do this? Oh, I'm going to have to do another move for the caboose. But fine. Yep, that's what I'll do. You could have this come out more. You could do more company houses. You could do something differently here. But I like the simplicity of this. Okay, I need to stop and uncouple our caboose. And then we're going to shove our last cars up. We're going to move the caboose over to this spot right over here. Although, wait a minute. If I... Oh, I'm going to have to gravity switch the caboose, except I don't think it has the... I don't think it... No, it doesn't have the scripting needed to gravity switch. So, we'll just have to cheat that part. But everything else we can legit gravity switch. But, So actually, we'd have to park it on the hill so it could roll down circle. Well, we're going to just park it here and pretend that we have really strong crew that can just push it into place when that time comes. Because yes, you would need to gravity switch the caboose as well. Unless we ran around it and put it at the front of the train. Which is a thing we could do if we don't feel like cheating. That's the way we'll do it, yeah. So we'll grab the caboose, run around it, and then we'll gather our hopper cars. Oh, I can't uncouple because it's loading a car, but that's okay. We'll fast forward that. And that is our empties taken care of. So now, caboose switcheroonie time. So, what do you guys think of this layout? Do you think that what do you think of the concept of gravity switching in model railroading? Is that something that you could see doing? Uh, it's definitely a different approach, no doubt about that. But boy, that'd be fun. Gravity switching freight cars in real life. All right. Grab our caboose, and then we'll just run around it. Technically, it should be at the back, but my choices are put it at the back and have to cheat it into place, or run around it now, and it can just be where it's at. Because what I had to do for the hoppers, I had to modify them to get the apply release brake thing. The default in with train Z freight cars is as soon as you uncouple them, they automatically put the brakes on, which is great from a standpoint of it works, but then not so great if you actually want to release the handbrakes. Oh, wrong track. I wanted to put it on this track. I love this little creek. That little creek with the bridge. Nice little, nice little respite. So much you could do with creeks. When I modeled the FJ and G layout back, the Fonda Johnstown and Gloversville, the Bredalbin layout, which we live streamed the build of about a year ago, come to think of it. That was I had that little creek in there, and the creek existed in real life, but the bridge didn't. But I just really wanted to have a little wooden trestle with a little creek, and it was so much fun to make the water out of Mod Podge. It took a lot of time because I'd do a coat, and then I had to let it dry, then I'd do another coat, and then I had to let it dry. That was literally a 10-day process of paint a coat, let it dry, wait a day, paint a coat, let it dry, wait a day, etc. You get the gist. And so, now we're going to put the caboose at the front. Oop, I need to change that switch. And it looks like I'll have enough room for the tail track and whatnot. And even though these switches are really tight, frequently O-scale locomotives, especially the articulateds, are designed to go around insanely tight curves. So I'm sure you could make that work in real life. I hope everything's working with the stream. I'm realizing, I'm looking at my stream numbers, and I'm worried that, in fact, I might be having connectivity issues. So, let me know if you're still out there, just so I know that I'm not talking to the ether, or shouldn't be looking into fixing something that might be technically off. Well, now we've got our caboose on the right side, meaning we're gonna push ahead. We're gonna park just clear of this switch, and then we're gonna try a double gravity switch move. Today we're gonna have the cars go up or go down, then they're going to go up, and then they're going to go down again, if all works as it should. Oh, let's have a view from inside the caboose as well, so that we can. I love this caboose model. Cupola. There we go. There we go. Now we get a different view of the fun that's going on. So now let us get our first cut of cars rolling, and we know that we could fit 4 without an engine, so we should be able to roll both of these without issue. So let's start with, let's see, we've got a cut of 4 and we've got a cut of 5. I'm going to start easy with the cut of 4. And I'm going to go ahead and release those handbrakes. Oh, things are moving. But I feel like one handbrake. Nope, that's released. Interesting. Maybe all the handbrakes are released on this consist? I think I had them all released. Well, they all appear to be released. So, we are underway. Slowly but surely. So the key is going to be fast enough so that we clear this switch. If we don't clear this switch, that is bad. If we clear the switch, but we run through the buffers, that is also bad. We're looking for a happy medium between those two things happening. So I'm gonna put the brakes on this lead car and use that as my control car. Now that we're getting some speed. And I'm realizing, of course, I forgot to throw both switches, but okay. At least I could get one of them fixed. And I want to apply that bit. Just to not be racing too much. Actually, that seems like a comfortable speed. And once I know we've cleared this switch, I can go ahead and apply that brake hard. And I've released it. And now, do we have enough weight on the... We do. I mean, I could fetch them too, but I feel like being a little lazy, and we're going to let them roll back toward the train. And because I feel like saving time, and I live on the dangerous side, we're going to take this cut of cars and start it going. And we need to release all the cars on this train. So that's 3 cars released. And last but not least, we have one more car that I think is... Yep, there we go. Now that cut is underway. And... oh, that car stopped, and I have a cut of cars coming. So in the interest of not having a derailment involving gravity-switched cars, we're going to fetch them before that cut of cars reaches this cut of cars. Oh, and I'm also going to fix that switch so that we're not facing the wrong way. I love to live dangerously. And now we're going to get out of the way of that cut of cars that is coming quickly towards us. Oop, and I also might want to have that cut of cars up so that I know. Okay, so we've cleared the switch, and I got to have it up so I make sure I'm not going too fast, because boy, that is cooking. But looks like we're good. We've cleared the switch. I can apply the brakes now. I'm going to release them again. Yay! That was fun. And now, thanks to that hill, they should roll back. But, you know, I like the mallet so much, I'm going to actually apply those handbrakes. And we're going to go touch them with the engine. Because why not? And then we can appreciate running the engine from the cab. Once we're not underground. Right now it would look scary. I like having the footbridge as a scenic divider, though. That was fun for a change of pace from the usual tunnels. I'm sorry that the stream's jumpy, double YouTube fan. Sorry that that's proving to be an issue. Okay, here we go. Here we are coming back into the world. Excuse me. I think we coupled up. Let's check. We did. And now I can release that handbrake. And so there we have it. Our train fully reassembled. We got all these cars switched out. The empties are now at the mine with the along with the supply box car. Ran around the caboose, got the loads onto our train. Now all that's left to do is head out of town. And that is the C&O Laurel Creek sub, and specifically Leyland, West Virginia. And now we disappear once again into staging, so we can watch the train disappear there and then reappear into our staging. I'm joined by both my cats. I've got Tucker on my lap and I've got Luca on the table. Oop. Oh no. I can't derail now. I've made it this far. I cannot. I've traveled so. Oh, okay. I'm gonna cheat this because I don't feel like derailing because my train had too much momentum on it from the open hoppers. So, okay. But I didn't actually derail, so it doesn't count. Real world physics are great, except for when you're trying to emulate model railroading and you don't want your train to run off the end of the track. But there we have it. That is Leyland, West Virginia, as constructed and play tested in Trains with a Z. Takeaways from this: yay for being able to fit O-scale into a bedroom with interesting operations. I mean, this is definitely a really interesting way to have O-scale. It's an interesting way to have gravity switching. There's a fun to this. There's something really enjoyable about this. And of course, you could take it and shrink it into HO scale and in a 8x8 space. You could even shrink it further into N scale, at which point this is 4x4 feet in N scale. That is compact. I don't know what gravity switching in N scale looks like, but it could be interesting. Only one way to find out is to build it. But this has been a fun one to play test. Thank you, Dan, for designing it and for joining me here to tell me what I was doing right and wrong. Yeah, watching the gravity switching is fun. So this has been a super enjoyable build. So the takeaways: yay for O-scale, yay for that ability, backdrops, and when you really want that feeling of claustrophobia that mountains provide, or intimacy, if claustrophobia feels too scary. So maybe you want your layout to be scary. You do you. But having that sense of that we are in the mountains, that was satisfying. That was a really satisfying element of this. And also the ability to have little scenes like a bridge, just a little detail like that. This would look so different if it was just more grass and just a straight track. Something like this, it just gives it that little bit of flavor. So, small yet commenting, as you say, Sleepy K4. And so, I will take some last comments before we wrap it up for tonight. Man, we've been on time. We started at 7. We ended pretty much at 10. We are good today. So, I've got a question from CBK4. Favorite part of voicing Frank in San Juan Branchline series? Fun. I love voicing characters in. I wouldn't say I'm a great voice actor by any stretch, but I do enjoy making cameos in other people's YouTube shows. So with I'll take any last questions you have, but uh, without any, I would just say that this will be available. Give it some months. It'll first go up on Patreon. So if you want to support me and get early access to Train Z layouts, go to patreon.com/the roundhouse. You'll also, depending on how much you pledge, get early access to episodes of the Roundhouse podcast. So double win there. Right now, I just released the Eagle River Morton branch. You can download that. And then, after a couple months, usually when I have the time to get these things packaged up, you head over to greattrainlayouts.com. You can download the finished product there. I just released the... What did I just release there? No, I released the Morton branch on publicly, and on Patreon I released the Reading and Northern route that we built last fall, so you can check those out. And again, if you watch this and you're like, man, he seems to know what he's doing, I'd love to have my layout pre-visualized, or I'd like to have help with the design. I do take commissions. You can learn more at greattrainlayouts.com. Oh, thank you for the stream, Nick. This got me thinking about what I could fit for O-scale too. Yes, there's ways to make O-scale work in a small space. It is tricky if you want operations, but it can be done. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to K&L Trains for sponsoring this and sharing their beautiful mallet locomotive with us. And with all that said and done, have a good night, good day if you're watching this after the fact. And I'll see you next month. Check greattrainlayouts.com/live for the dates. I'll see you then.